Okay.
Okay, gets called to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
for
and
all.
justice.
Okay, started out with our board members' request. Mr. Loomis wanted to bring back the moment of silence. We decided when we started the year that because of the sensitivity of forgetting somebody, potential to forget, omit somebody that recently passed in the community, we decided not to do it, but tonight we're going to, guess, start that, especially in light of the memory of, or in light of having someone so close to home, our town, Judge Clerk Kim Memory's son, Tyler. We'll start with him. Tragic loss of a life taken way too young. Then there's also Nate Doody, also a life taken way too young. Claude Ingersoll and Kevin Carroll. So I guess a moment of silence. Okay, I guess we'll then move on to public comments.
John?
Good evening, all. I just want to give the board an update basically on Pompey's participation in NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities program, which we participated in for a number of years. It began under Carol Marsh administration and accelerated through Renee Rotundo's administration. Basically, what the Clean Energy Communities program is administered by NYSERDA. It's a point-based program to encourage municipalities to improve energy efficiency of their facilities as well as implement clean energy projects. Points are accrued by implementing certain energy conservation measures or projects, and as you accrue points, a municipality becomes eligible for grant monies to implement further energy conservation measures. To date, we've been awarded $12,500 in grants, which have been used on several projects, including the conversion of the highway garage to LED lighting, and the more recent window replacement project in the assessor's office and town clerk's office. Part of that project too, we did some air sealing to reduce air infiltration in the building. 2 years ago, you may or may not be aware, we replaced the aging propane furnaces in the town hall with cold climate air source heat pumps. It's important to note that in the first year of operation, the new heat pump system saved the town over $2,000 in operating costs, compared to a propane system had we replaced the previous system in kind. Last week, I received notification from NYSERDA that the heat pump project has made us eligible for a grant of $10,000. In addition, the heat pump project pushed us over a points threshold, making us eligible for an additional $50,000 grant for a total of $60,000. It's important to note that these grants require no expenditure of town funds. Last year, Charlie Bertucci, a resident of the town, was gracious enough to conduct an energy audit of the highway garage. The resulting report identified a number of recommended energy conservation measures to reduce energy costs. And as Bill knows, currently I'm working with BR to identify which of those measures he would like to implement. We will then apply for the grant funding in order to execute those projects. We have 90 days from the date of the emails to file an application. And if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
What was the date of the email, John?
I'll send it out
Okay.
to everybody tomorrow. It was late last week.
Great. So 50 grand, 60 grand?
60 grand.
60 grand, no output of town money,
No.
and we can use it however we want at the garage?
Well, not however we want, it's gotta be one of their approved projects.
Is there a certain payback criteria?
No. But the
Well,
audit, allows us to do, energy, allows us to do envelope work, like insulation,
Sure.
new doors, things like that,
Yeah.
so.
well, I appreciate you bringing it to the town, and thanks for all the stuff you've done in the past. I know you've been super involved, and thanks for all your efforts.
Sure, sure.
Were them savings numbers like, were they the actual real savings numbers from like the bill wise, or I just wondered?
Yeah, looking at bills and then converting it to propane usage, what propane usage would have been had we, still been using propane furnaces.
Alright,
And, looking at electric and then adding it all up, and, yeah, it was slightly over $2,000 in operating costs for 1 year.
alright, thank you.
This is my first meeting here, good to meet you all. So can I comment at the end after hearing all that, or
Now is the time for public comment, right?
Now's the time for public
I
comment.
don't know anything to comment, so.
Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you.
All right, I think it'll be good to keep it at the
What
end.
was your name again? What was your name again?
Senthil Ganesh.
All right, perfect.
Trina Douglas?
Members of the board. Trina Douglas, Deputy Town Clerk, Cemetery Road. I have a few items to bring to the public's attention. There's a problem in this town with identity politics. This is causing so much division. Fortunately, it's only a handful of people who are responsible for this. I personally experienced this vitriol running for office. It seems to be affecting many good people who only want what's best for the folks in town. Why am I saying this? I can no longer stand by and watch the damage this kind of behavior causes. Good people's reputations are being tarnished and destroyed. Here's an example of what happens when this type of behavior goes unchecked. You authorize the town's law firm to send a letter to the town clerk threatening to terminate her health insurance for failure to work 30 hours a week.
Let me interrupt you. Are you bringing up a personnel issue?
No, this actually is town business.
No, that's a personnel issue.
It's town
That's
business.
town board.
Because it affects town business.
No, it does not. It's a personnel issue that we're not going to discuss in a public forum. It's inappropriate, frankly, to bring up a personnel issue in a
Really?
public hearing. It is.
Even though it affects the public and the town itself, because of business being conducted or not being conducted by the way that the town clerk is being treated.
It's a personnel issue.
It's not really just a personnel issue. Maybe you wanna let me finish a little bit more.
Well.
Would you like me to skip a certain part for you, or that maybe?
You can say what you want. You've got a couple of seconds, 11 minutes left. But
Okay.
we're not discussing personnel issues in public.
So I
It
can't
doesn't
discuss the
matter.
handbook either? How's that?
You can discuss the handbook if you want. That's not a personnel issue.
Okay, great. I wasn't really gonna discuss it, and since you're taking up my time, I wasn't gonna discuss that particular issue. I was
I'm
hoping
not
to
here,
state
I'm not
it.
here to argue with you.
I'm not here to argue with you either. I'm here to
Well,
try to
then
make a
just-
statement that you're interrupting.
Just speak without bringing up
Then
personnel
I want my
issues.
time back.
Go ahead, take your time.
Thank you. Okay. Our town clerk is an exempt salaried elected official who doesn't need to keep a timesheet. Okay? And there's a revised handbook that my office doesn't have, and that neither does the town highway department have. So I'd like to know why we don't have a copy of the handbook that was revised on 12/23. Because it specifically changes the healthcare benefits that she is entitled to get as an exempt employee. So in case the board doesn't understand, an exempt employee is a salaried employee. They're not under the requirements of a non-exempt employee, which is hourly, part-time, or full-time. You cannot classify a salaried employee as that, okay?
Sounds like more of a personnel issue.
Maybe. I'm asking that you please provide a handbook to us. Because what happens is when somebody changes the website hours without identifying to the town clerk, when the public comes in and complains that they're not able to talk with somebody from the town clerk office because the website says one thing, yet she's not here, that poses a problem because then she takes a lot of heat, or I take the heat, because the hours aren't reflecting the correct days. Okay, perfect example, June, July, and August. That's what she has all legal authority to claim is her hours, yet they were changed to reflect only July and August. So members of the public were very upset that they would come here between 1 and 4 and not be able to conduct business. That's what I'm getting to, okay? The other issue is there's conflict in the handbook, okay? There's 10% that says that she's supposed to pay according to the old handbook, but the revised handbook says she doesn't have to pay at all. So I'll cut it short right now. If you guys could please take the time to correct the employee handbook and make sure that everybody actually has a copy. I just started working here May 13th, and I have the old version in the town clerk's office. It's a problem for me because if there's things in there that I need to know to better represent this office so that we can get work done properly, I would really like that opportunity. Thank you for your time.
Scott Douglas?
Scott Douglas, Cemetery Road, continuing with some of what Trina was just talking about, which I'm gonna try and amend so I don't cover any personnel issues, sir. My wife really wants this town to be the best it can be, and right now, it's not where we're going. She's a moral and God-fearing person, she's putting her neck out right now, and I'm concerned for retaliation. Recently set up letters that were sent out, and it appears that it was created during a executive session, which violates the open meeting law with the town attorney present. And that's in section 105 of the OML, clearly states an executive session is not separate from an open meeting, but a portion of an open meeting. And there should be required minutes as well, which have not been forwarded to the town clerk's office as of this date. Additionally, Trina had sent Mr. Nardella an email on the 12th in response to him changing the hour of the town clerk summer office work schedule without notification to her, or that issue was just put onto the website without anybody being notified. And this created a lot of issues as far as people coming in and thinking that we were open until 4:30, when in fact we're only open in the morning. When it was drawn to his attention, it still took a couple weeks to get that corrected. Perception is that, okay, let me read that a little bit continually. I apologize. This caused unnecessary conflict with the public. In the email that was sent, continued actions by will undermine this office will be construed as creating a hostile work environment and harassment, and further action will be taken up to and including legal remedy. The perception held by Ms. Reed and Ms. Douglas is in violation of, the town is in violation of the Pompey Policy Against Discrimination and Harassment, Section 2 definitions, other hostile actions taken against an individual, such as interfering with an individual's ability to work, perform their job, sabotaging an individual's work. If the board does make changes to the handbook and reflecting healthcare before December 31st, that would also be reviewed as a type of retaliation. The handbook says otherwise, how can we implement it properly? Unfortunately, because of this perceived continual harassment from the town board, Ms. Reed and Ms. Douglas filed an inquiry leading to a formal complaint with the EEOC and DHR against the board, and are pushing for further legal remedy. For that, we have to come to this. We need to do better.
Mark, can I just address one thing? I just want to address what appears to be a continuing misconception of the open meetings law. When the board meets with its attorney, it's an attorney-client meeting, which is specifically accepted from the open meetings law. It's not an executive session, so we did in fact meet, and it was an attorney-client privilege meeting. So the citation that you have, you got to read the entire statute to determine whether there's a violation. It's a continuing theme that keeps being said that somehow this board is violating the open meetings law. It's just not accurate. So I appreciate the comment, and if an executive session was held not after a meeting like this, you might be correct. But an attorney-client privilege meeting is exempt. So
Are they subject to FOIA requests?
no, they're attorney-client privilege.
I don't see how as a public official that's true. You're not a private corporation or business.
Renee Rotundo?
Hi, I'm not gonna pretend I don't know you. Renee Rotundo. I'm not going to give my address because my house was put on Facebook recently without my permission, which is a total invasion of my privacy, and I take great exception to it, so I do not want to add to that by telling people my address.
Okay.
So, but I'm here, because I want to talk about Heritage Hill. And I'm talking to you, because that's my job. And I know the people behind me are not going to probably like what I have to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We had a lengthy planning board proceeding, and I am all about process, due process. So we had a lengthy planning board proceeding of the meatpacking facility that brought up the ability to challenge everything that was going on at Heritage Hill. The public was given a lot of opportunities to participate and weigh in. The board took into consideration their concerns, and they made a decision. It was reasoned, it was rational, it was a very thorough, good decision guided by good legal counsel. But that wasn't enough for some of the people that didn't like the decision. There were 13 petitioners, that who bordered the property around Heritage Hill, who decided to file an Article 78 proceeding. That was heard, that was argued, and it was denied. That was also done at great expense to both the town and the Palladino Farm, and I assume the petitioners, because they had to bring forth and prove what they were saying. I want to just get into the math of this for a minute, and I hope I don't run over, I'm trying not to. 13 petitioners represented 10 households around the Palladino Farm property. I did the best I could to figure out how many households are around the property. If you just count the inner households on Crafts Falls Road, Route 91, Hamilton, Michael Ave, and Sweet Road, there's 48 or so, give or take. So 10 houses out of 48 if you just count the interior houses. If you add in the houses across the road, that's 32 more. So there's 80 houses out there, but we have 10 households, 80 residences, but we have 10 households that are beating the drum about what they don't like about an agribusiness in this town. They don't represent all of the residences. They aren't speaking for most of the residences. And we're talking about music. Oh dear.
It's not my meeting.
Can I continue?
Yes, you can.
We all get a time? It's up to the supervisor. It's music, it's acoustic.
Not fair, she gets special privilege because she's doing something you agree with.
Nobody.
We've had other residences go over time, so that comment can go away.
Thank you, Diane.
Please try.
I'm gonna try, so my point is, we're talking about music, it's acoustic. It's 3 hours a day for 3 days a week. We're not talking about late at night, we're not talking about it's loud. It ends, it's only in the summer, it ends at 8 or 9 o'clock, with rare exception does it go later. And it's not, there's no events.
You almost done?
Yeah, okay.
Fine.
And I just wanna say, I live in the neighborhood, I hear music, okay? I think what people need to do, and this is where I'm wrapping up, we need to learn to accept decisions that we don't like. We need to learn to live with it and move on. The fact that and that's why I'm here, because I don't wanna be here, but I continuously, can we continuously have this repetitively brought back before the board, and the planning board has already made a decision, and the noise issue should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis before the planning board.
Thanks.
Not an ordinance.
Lisa Miles?
Lisa Miles, Crafts Falls Road. There's some truth to what Renee just said.
So let's deal with this on a case-by-case basis. Mr. Nardella, several months ago, you directed a comment through your deputy to the town residents here saying that you want to run things a little bit differently than your predecessor and have adult conversations to avoid lawsuits such as what Renee just mentioned. I'm here to let you know tonight that your code enforcement officer didn't hear your message and didn't hear the decisions of the planning board. Because I've had several conversations with many residents who have informed me and made me aware of dozens of complaints. Separate issues, each complaint is a separate issue on a day that there is loud music violating what the planning board, put in place. It is Mr. Barrett's job to enforce any violations. He should investigate complaints, acknowledge complaints, and enforce if there is a violation. These are all required duties of the code enforcement officer. He has yet to acknowledge any of those dozens of complaints that I'm talking to. Though on June 21st, he did respond to one complainant, giving the directive to call the sheriff's department instead of filing a formal complaint. This response is ridiculous at best. It's not only disruptive to the county resources, but spotlights our town's inability to carry out its most basic functions, which you're responsible for. You and I spoke at length on July 1st. Telephone conversation. You suggested to me that maybe Mr. Barrett's inability to meet his town responsibilities are due to the constraints on his schedule, the fact that he lives and commutes from Cortland, and the lack of resources the town has provided to him to enforce the site plan limitations that the planning board put on Heritage Hill. According to the 2024 approved budget, Mr. Barrett receives a salary of $58,344 a year. This is a 62% increase from what he started in 2023. Late in 2023, we gave him a raise in an effort to pay more attention to Pompey. The 2024 budget also includes $9,282 for a deputy code enforcement officer, for which the town failed or otherwise refused to appoint. Based on our conversation of July 1st, and based on tonight's agenda item that you put on this sheet of paper, I believe that you're going to say the town has no more resources to spend for Mr. Barrett to address some of the complaints. So I hope your
Lisa,
statement.
Can I ask you to, as I ask Renee?
I will right now. I hope your statement tonight includes a motion to move the $9,282 over to the legal ledger for the town, because you're right. The inability to have adult conversations, because I've asked Mr. Barrett 6 times since May to sit down and chat with me, invited you as well, you have that email. The inability to have these conversations is leading to more lawsuits and legal fees.
Jim Gozer. Jim Gozer, 7262 Kratz Falls Road. Just following what Lisa said. Again, the statement was reasonable people should be able to sit down in a room and talk like adults. So where are the adults? Back in May, a proposal was given to everybody on this board in a public meeting to form a citizens committee to study the noise. Not to point fingers, just to study it, to see if it was a problem. That doesn't appear in the minutes. No mention of that in the minutes. The audio didn't work, so you're not going to find it there. And no member of this board has publicly acknowledged that you even got the proposal. So everyone in this room and on Zoom needs to understand that we as the residents have tried to engage you as leaders, but you failed to engage. You failed to discuss, and you failed to lead. And by failing to lead, you're virtually assuring there's going to be more legal bills. Since September of '23, dozens of complaints have been filed with the code enforcement officer. I appreciate Renee's version of events. I can't tell you how many times we invited Renee to come over to our house to hear the music and the noise. How many times did she respond, or any member of the board at the time respond? 0. So to say we should just let it go, not gonna happen. Most of the complaints that have been filed have not even been investigated. Under the town code, it is the duty of the code enforcement officer to review and investigate complaints and pursue enforcement. The failure to do that, I don't put at Tim Barrett's feet, I put it at your feet. He works for you. I suspect the statement that you're gonna make tonight about enforcement of planning board restrictions is gonna make a lot of people in this room unhappy. I don't know what the statement's gonna say, but I suspect it's gonna say the town lacks the resources to enforce site plan requirements. Well, guess what? It's not optional. The planning board has the absolute authority to impose restrictions, and then it's the duty of the code enforcement officer to enforce those. No resources? You have a budget item, you have a $9,200 budget line for a deputy code enforcement officer. You could appoint a deputy code enforcement officer tonight, but you won't. And you've got $200,000 in ARPA funds that you've been trying to figure out what to do with for a year. So if there's resources, it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of will, and it's a lack of leadership. The New York State town law allows citizens of the town to take matters into their own hands when the code enforcement officer refuses to do his job. And because of your inability to lead the code enforcement officer, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Perfect.
I'm gonna say a lot of this is gonna be addressed in this statement stuff coming up. You know, we are gonna tackle this particular question somewhat. I'm just saying it is coming up, so as far as not answering now, it's gonna be discussed later.
But I'd love the opportunity to have a back and forth when that comes up. Stadtberger here.
We're near 2010 Cemetery Road, and I was here in March asking a lot of questions about the $72,000 in attorney fees. So I fully requested it, and I discovered that what we used to pay $2,000 a month for attorney fees for the town attorney, now it's $33.34 a month. So that jumped, a huge jump, in just from December 31st to January 1st. Additionally, in January, there's about $72,000 worth of attorney fees just in 1 month, and that was the Heritage Hill situation, which apparently still has not been resolved. This is all our town taxpayer money going to this, you know, sounds like even more lawsuits now coming because of the board's failure to address the whole situation there. And we've heard from the town, and we want answers, and we want accountability for the $72,000 and this $3,300 a month that we're now spending. Why are we spending $3,300 a month plus $72,000? That should include the attorney fees. If they're representing the town, that should be the fees.
Deb, I'd like to make a comment back to you. The attorney's fees and the lawsuit are separate issues. The attorney's fees are handling this board and the planning board. They had 2 separate firms, now we're using 1 firm. So therefore, it's gonna be more expensive. As far as the attorney's fees go for the lawsuit that was filed, separate issue. So I hope, did you get the answers that you were looking for on the 72 grand?
So the $3,300 a month includes the $2,000 for the town board plus $1,300 for the planning board?
Correct.
Okay, so the $1,300 in the planning board where the Heritage Hill suit is, that didn't cover, $1,500 a month isn't enough to cover that?
There's so much work that goes into making sure that we do the right research and have the right answers for the town, beyond attending the meetings and answering calls and responding to the board, it's a lot of time, a lot more than you would think. And when you look at their billing rates, if I had to guess, they're probably losing money on this account.
So who was the attorney before? I mean, I know that Harris Beach was for the town, who was?
Right,
who
it was
the-
Tim Ferteschi, and do you remember, Bill, who the, was it Patty? Jamie, yeah, it was Jamie Sutton.
from-
Yeah.
What law firm?
I think it's her own firm,
Baldwin and Sutton.
so.
It was Baldwin, Sutton, and Ferteschi, and then Tim Ferteschi came over to Harris Beach, and Jamie stayed separate and continued to do the planning board.
Just wanted to know how many
Yeah.
more, you know, big bills we're gonna get like,
I
sounds like
don't,
we're gonna get a lot
listen,
more.
we don't want any big bills either,
Well,
Deb,
it's
we
time for you
really
guys
don't.
to, you know.
Yeah, the lawsuit is separate, they pay, you know, that they're here in meetings and when there's, all kinds of different paperwork is done, they review it and get, so that's where that monthly fee goes into. Anything extra is on top of that and charged pretty much by the hour.
Right,
Yeah, well, it's costing the town a lot of money.
It is.
72,000.
I agree.
It's time to work with the town.
We don't disagree.
So.
Thanks, Deb.
Dan?
Almost. One of these times.
Well, in fairness, I think you
I
still
know,
want purpose.
I have a doctor's signature. Dan McClung, Michael Ave. I'm gonna be quick here since I'm not saying anything that the board's not already heard. I'd like to start by saying it's a little frustrating to be coming here over and over again over the same thing. I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way. You know, I have better things to do. I'm sure most other people in this room do as well, but I feel we don't really have a choice. Mark, you asked us to come and talk to you. You said it would be better to talk things through than to litigate. I agree 100%, and I still agree. However, we've been talking, we've sat down, and it's been kind of a one-sided conversation. It's completely unclear if actions are being taken to improve the situation in our community or to address the issues that have been raised. Some of these issues have been being raised for years. If actions are being taken, and if actions are being taken, are they temporary or permanent? You know as well as I, if it's not in writing or it's not enforced, it's completely meaningless. I mean, that's just reality. Failure to communicate in this case is indistinguishable from inaction. So where does that leave us? Per your statement several months ago, I think I got the number on here, over $75,000 have been spent on legal fees. I'm sure this number has grown by now, and I think everybody in this town needs to know that this could and should have been avoided. All by failing to communicate, and by failing to communicate, you're guaranteeing that this number is going to continue to grow. But I guess it's easy to spend, other people's money. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told your predecessor. This conflict regarding the meat processing plant and the noise pollution, it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away without doing something about it. So, I'm asking you once again to open lines of communication with the community you've been elected to represent. We've talked. But, so there's two parties that have come to the table. There's one party that is refusing to do so. That's blocking things up and it's making things worse. So, otherwise, the inaction is gonna leave us no choice but to continue to fight to protect our community, our homes, and our families. So that's what I had in writing.
Right.
I'd like to comment on some of the other statements I've heard here. Pompey, we all live here. This is a community. And there's a lot of conflict brewing here, and I mean, let's try to get ahead of this and let's try to make things right. I mean, this is not a positive situation here. So, thank you for your time.
Hey, Dan, before you leave, can you just clarify one point? You said it's easier to spend other people's money. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean,
Are you implying that the board doesn't care about spending legal fees to defend itself after it's sued?
What I'm saying is, there's a path to make this go away, and we're not taking it at this point. That's what I'm seeing. We're not sitting down, we're not talking about what we can do, to de-escalate. And if we don't de-escalate, we're escalating. And that costs everybody money. Everybody. And as I said to your predecessor, this sucks for me doubly because, I'm one of the petitioners. I'm paying for it twice.
Right.
I'm not happy about that.
Right. That's a good point.
Joanne?
Joanne Hopler, Route 91. I am one of the 13 petitioners that filed the lawsuit, and I am here to say that I disagree with everything that Renee said. When she was on the board, when she was a supervisor, she did nothing for us. She did everything against us. She treats us like we are not even citizens of this community. I don't care if there's only 13 of us and 15 people who border the property. I don't care if there's 48 or 80. If there was one person that had a problem, why are we being discriminated against? And things are not being taken care of by this board and the planning board. When she said that we, the public, were given an opportunity to voice our concerns, last year we were given one night, the first night, the open meeting, and after that, we were not allowed to speak, except the day they put the rules in place. Some of us were allowed to speak, but I wasn't. My brother wasn't. We were discriminated against. When she said, the music is just the summer, it's just music. It is amplified music. It is every weekend. It is every holiday. And I border the property and so do my neighbors. We can't sit outside in the peace and quiet in the country. That has been taken away from us. The value of our homes are going down. He wants to put the meat packing plant in. We fought it. We fought it because when the brewery came, we all went there. We ate there. We participated. We pushed for other people to go there. But it was only supposed to be a tasting room. That place can now seat 800 people. It was not supposed to have any weddings, no big events. We have all of that. The meat packing plant, the SIC codes for that plant, he said was only going to be a meat packing plant. That SIC code allows him to be a slaughterhouse. What he told us the brewery was going to be and what it turned out to be are two different things. We were really concerned that the meat packing plant was going to be the same thing. We're not on public water. We're very concerned about our wells. We voiced all this in only one meeting. This is before the neighbors even knew each other. So everything that Renee says, she is seeing from her point of view, and she does not live around the property. She lives a quarter of a mile down the road. And she's politically tied to Palladino. Just want to say, in the codes report that you have on the 7th, you went up, didn't find any problem with the music? We didn't either. Thank you.
Oh, that's far to be finished.
I'll give a chance.
Wait a second.
Thank you.
Hi.
I just wanted to understand the process.
Yeah.
If the complaints come in, do we have a log? Who looks at it? How is it addressed? Do we communicate back to the people? And how many complaints come in? And this has to be made public because if complaints are coming in, then everybody should know. Do we post it somewhere? Just want to understand the process.
If you read, there's a rules of decorum, okay? And the best way to voice any type of issue you have townwide is to contact my office. Okay, I will get back to you.
Okay.
Okay, I may not be able to provide you the answer you want,
Okay.
but I will certainly respond
Okay.
and we will consider your issue.
Oh, that sounds good.
Are you talking codes complaint or
Oh, no,
complaints
any
townwide?
complaint that comes to the town saying something is wrong with the board, something is wrong with my neighbor, whatever complaints come in, that needs to be
can
put
do
in
it.
a log, so people know generally. I mean, we may be totally wrong, there are no complaints coming in, we are assuming that complaints are coming in. So, if you can present this data, then that takes care of a lot of things, that's the whole purpose of it.
There is a process for if you have like a codes complaint, that goes through the, codes.
And we have the list
And
somewhere.
there's forms you fill out for official complaint, if you have complaints about other boards doing things, that's what public
No,
comment is.
just wanted to understand how we.
And check the Facebook page.
No, wait, we'll guide
Do you wanna speak now, or did you wanna wait till the end, or are you good? Okay. Yeah. Phyllis, I can't hear you. Okay, Phyllis, Henry.
Hi, everybody. Well, you probably all know me, but I don't know all of you. I have one thing to say. We run our town on taxes. Everything we pay is taxes. Now, if we want to shut businesses down, if we want to say this neighbor can't have a swimming pool, if we want to say, I don't like the color of your hair, or I don't like how loud your car is, we're gonna spend every dollar of our tax money taking care of all that. Now, Heritage House is all your complaint. It's probably one of the largest taxpayer in our county.
Absolutely not.
Well, it's gotta be pretty close.
Look up the
He's talking sales tax.
Okay,
Address
let
us.
us, go ahead.
Hold on, address us. Address us.
Oh,
Address
okay.
us.
I'm just saying that, can we afford to turn any tax base away? Do we really wanna improve our community? Can we not really get together and work it out? I believe we all want the same thing, but we just get filled with the wrong information at the wrong time. It all depends on who I talk to. I meet people and I believe every word. And then I find out they're not quite what they tell me they are. And I say, that doesn't make sense. How do I trust anybody? How do I allow my family to live in a town where all we fight about is a business paying tax money? I can tell you lots of things to fight about. There's a lot of things we can improve. We can cut taxes, we can do all kinds of things. And availability. We're a freaking little town. You can pay your taxes online, you can pay your taxes in person, and you can mail in a check. Do we really need a full-time person in a building? Do we really? Like, we are running a part of our business. I'd rather take your money, pay those employees more money, pay the people that do everything for us more money, and I'm sorry. Let's look at what we really need. Let's get together. Do we want to run Heritage Hill out? How do we compromise? It is not going to be as simple as everyone thinks. And I am going to use a little more time. Because it's a business. It's got, and I'm sorry, I'm thrilled that a business can grow. I would want my business in a place where I can say, wow, I live here. What if I do this? What if I do that? I mean, we've watched the little Pompey's ice cream stand go from a diner to whatever. Okay, but I'm just saying, there is a way out of all this. We just all have to try to figure it out, and it's not easy. It is not gonna be easy, and anyone that looks at one other person and cannot come in and say, okay, I did this research, and can we try this? Can we really try this? Is this something we can do?
All right, thank you.
Okay,
All right,
just work together, everybody.
thanks, Phyllis.
You're welcome, it's for everyone.
Miss anybody? Or mispronounce everybody's name? I think we're done.
All right, James, comment report?
Everybody has a copy of the June 2024 Supervisors
Do
Report.
we have anybody online? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
If everyone's had a minute to review that, I'd like to request the board make a motion to approve the June 2024 Supervisors Report.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we accept the supervisor's report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carried.
Second, you all should have a copy of the June 2024 bank reconciliation for the general checking account. I'd like to request the board make a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve the, bank reconciliation, for the June meeting.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Next, there's one budget modification for this month. We're going to increase unemployment insurance by $2,200, and this is going to come from the contingent line. This is to cover the cost of New York State unemployment reimbursement for former employees' unemployment claim from 2023. So I'd like to request the board to make a motion to approve that budget modification.
I'll make a motion to approve the modification.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, a few other points. We're halfway through the year. We're looking very good versus budget. Revenue is at or slightly above budget. Our expenses are looking very good. There's really no concerns at this point. Our interest income continues to come in at a pretty good clip. Last month was $11,313, which brings our year-to-date total up to $63,172. And we are still sitting at $238,000 of uncommitted ARPA funds. That's all I have.
Okay. So next would be the clerk's report.
Yeah, if the board's had a chance to review my draft for June 11, 2024, I'm looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
Actually, we did, the fire department meeting was on June 20th versus June 29th.
June 20th, so you have one change.
With that change, I'll make a motion to accept the, minutes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah, I prepared bank reconciliation reports for June 2024 for both town clerk and tax collector, so I'm looking for a motion to approve those bank statements.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for June 24 for the town clerk and tax collector.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I prepared all of the vouchers for the payment of bills, so I'm looking for approval to pay those bills.
Okay, I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I did have, I couldn't find on the abstract these first few. I haven't had a chance to ask you about them, but I couldn't find them, but I definitely approve any that we had here.
So you approve everything with the exception of
I couldn't find those ones.
309, 310, 311, 312, 313.
Yeah, the ones that are not here.
Do you know?
309.
Yes, three.
Oh,
They were at the
somehow I
beginning.
didn't get them. All right, sorry.
I already said
My
that.
fault.
I already
I
said
didn't
that.
see them personally,
That's right.
so that's why they were missing from my checkoffs. They're
So
probably right here.
they are.
So
All right.
all
There you go.
vouchers, correct?
Yep,
Yep,
all
they're here.
vouchers.
We're good. Sorry, I was.
You want to second it?
I'll second it.
There you go.
All right. Any further discussion?
My job.
James?
Sorry.
Over here.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, we're good. Thanks, that's fine.
Okay. All in favor?
Good job.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Yeah, and lastly, I have the agreement between FM School District and the town of Pompey for the collection of school taxes, so I'm looking for a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement for the collection of school taxes.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carried.
That's it for me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
BR is, the whole highway department is on vacation this week. So I don't think there was anything pressing he had. So I guess we'll skip over to the code officer's report, which is now, and we apologize, is now fully disclosed on the website. Which leads in, I guess, to our supervisor's report. And just want to say with this whole Heritage Hill and the situation there, the town planning board site the ruling, we were all handed this new board. I was as a new supervisor. And you know, historically, we've had a part-time code enforcement officer. And that's been before me, multiple supervisors and boards. That's the resources we've had. We don't have we're not Casanova, we don't have a Casanova Village Police, we're not Manlius Police. We have one part-time codes enforcement officer that services 5 towns. And he actually cut back to service 2 towns, to service this town more, to make up for the deputy who anecdotally, again, this wasn't under my watch, was pretty much ineffective. So, so I guess historically, it's gotta be assumed that the board's taxpayers have decided that we don't want to pay for the extra cost. This is kind of I guess a theme of the town. I mean, I pretty much every night, the weather is nice, can hear dirt bikes, and it's pretty loud every night, and there's really no place for me to go complain to. I guess I could, and I guess that's what the board is hired to do or elected to do, is to decide these types of things. And we're not ignoring, we're considering, we're trying to figure this out. Let's see, but you know, at the present, our code enforcement officer is a part-time position. It's our hope, and I attend a monthly luncheon with other town supervisors, and apparently just hiring another codes enforcement officer is not very easy. They're difficult to find anybody that's of good quality. Tim, our current codes enforcement officer, again, this anecdotally has been the most proficient we've had in very recent memory. Simply go out and wave a magic wand and find a really effective codes enforcement officer to supplement that. One, we'd have to approve more in the budget, but 2, it isn't as easy as it sounds. And probably most importantly, you know, when I ran for office, I think when we all run for office, one of the questions we asked, do we represent the minority or do we represent the majority? And those are things we have to consider. It's not like in this town, we can just call 911 and the codes enforcement officer is gonna show up, or the police is gonna show up. That's just the way it is set up right now in the town of Pompey. We're certainly considering, and I guess I'll be perfectly candid, we're hoping Tim, at the end of his fiscal year, or the calendar year, is able to relieve himself of some other town obligations and work on a more full-time basis, but that's not something he can do until the end of this year, and perhaps that's part of the solution for next year. I'll also say, and it'll be more detailed at the next town board meeting, but I'm looking into the possibility of perhaps hiring, and this would be something that wouldn't be a big hit to the budget, but constable that would be able to come up, be more on an as-need and basis of being able to, if there is a report of a sound issue or a local resident that would be able to be more timely in being able to enforce things. I'm gonna open up to the rest of the town because our board here to give their comments on what our thoughts are, but we're not ignoring you. We just, we represent the town, not just the people that show up here. And we have to consider that as well. Anybody?
So I've been doing a lot of research.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, great.
I've been doing a lot of research, with the decibel stuff, and I've been going different places with my phone measuring things. And the 65 decibels that he is allowed, it's loud. But that was what was written that he was allowed to do. I was emailed by Lisa to look into frequency, which it's not anything that's written into the planning board decision. So I don't know how that would come into play. But I do know that where I've practiced with it, there was music playing that was probably 3 football fields away from me, and I could hear it clear as a bell, and the decibels never read above 45. So we don't have, and Mark, you're talking about a motorcycle or dirt bikes. The town of Pompey does not have a noise ordinance. So the only thing relating to noise is what is in the planning board decision regarding Heritage Hill. If he's not following the rules, if he's having outside bands more than he's allowed or anything like that, then yeah, he's got to own that. And that's where we need to be more diligent to figure out what's going on. That's just my perspective.
There's someone else there.
Yeah, we've had discussions here about noise ordinance things, and generally, and again, it kind of goes town-wide, and on his argument of the majority, if you polled the town-wide residents, do you want a noise ordinance, you'd get a resounding no from the whole thing. Now, and the other real difficulty in that would be, we've run into this issue here with Heritage Hill. If you had it town-wide, you would need like Saline or other ones that you would have 4 or 5, maybe even 6 codes enforcers to try to enforce such a thing, which it would be an astronomical cost, and it really doesn't fit what Pompey is. It's a farming community. That's and we've heard you can carve farming out of it, but somehow after a while it gets linked back in, and we know how those things go. I mean, I can make an example where farms kind of exempt from, like you have a farm sign out there, but I get ready to put one up and I find out I gotta go to the planning board and it's gonna be an automatic approval, but I gotta pay to have a site plan review in order to put it up. And that's just to get my stuff delivered to my place, cause the 911 numbers don't match my place, so all my deliveries head to the farm next door because my address in the GPS, it doesn't stop at my place. I don't have a sign out front, so they can't tell where my farm is, but I gotta pay almost as much as I pay for the sign to get permission to put it up. So, and I've always been under the assumption that farming was exempt, but somehow it's not. So I'm making a statement that I think a noise, and I know this board, at least I'm dead set against the noise ordinance, and I'll apologize if that's what they want, but I don't think that's the solution. And to piggyback off of what Diana said, I've been up to Heritage Hill at times. We've all got little things on our phone that we can check it on. We've got an official town one that we can check it on. When we have, if I, when I've been out there for an event or whatever, it was well within the distance. We've done experimenting out here with, in the field with music, because we were trying to figure out how far away, how loud something would have to be to read it. And if you find out you could hear something plain as day, and it's not reading the decibels to be actually in violation, and that's kind of what we're discovering, so.
All right,
Yeah,
go over time.
Bell on that.
All right.
I'm giving you a day.
Yeah, so I just wanna make a couple points. Jim, you mentioned on numerous occasions that there's a lack of leadership and judgment, and I believe, Lisa, you said something about a committee and noise ordinance?
The proposal that we handed to you doesn't say ordinance, it doesn't say committee.
Okay,
Just says, let's talk about it.
okay,
Let's get other people
yeah.
around to talk about
So, from a leadership standpoint, you're 10, 15 families in probably the biggest square mile town around, from what I understand. If you look at the mileage, I don't know what the square footage is, but from a mileage standpoint. Our job, the way I look at it, is to represent everybody. To look out for taxes for everybody. If I heard one thing when I was out talking to people, when I was trying to get elected back in November, everybody was concerned about one thing. When I say everybody, the vast majority of people I spoke with, that was, please keep my taxes low, don't raise the taxes, right? That's what this community is really based on. Low taxes, and we're an agricultural / farming community. I sincerely feel bad for you guys with respect to the emotional anguish that you've been through, all this stuff with lawsuits. It's not easy when you're on either side. It's not easy sitting here not making certain people in the town happy, because that's ultimately what we want to do. But in the end, I disagree with your leadership comment a lot. I've gone up to Heritage Hill 4 times on weekends. You don't know that. I went up with my decibel reader and walked all around. And of the 4 times, the highest music reading I could get was 58 decibels. Now, you may disagree with me, Lisa, and I see your smile. I don't know what is going on. If there's some reverberation, if you can hear the rebound off the building, I don't know. But Dan, from what I saw, said he moved the music inside. It which appears, do you hear it less?
No.
Since when?
No. Okay,
Can I just interject something here?
sure.
Mapstone, the
Mhm.
wedding venue. The planning board said music's gotta be inside.
Okay,
With less people surrounding that property.
And 2 board members live within 1 mile, less than 1 mile of that venue. That to me seems like, that seems to be like, yeah, we know that these people are complaining about the music and we don't wanna deal with it, so we're gonna make them have it inside.
I got you. Okay, I wasn't following.
Discrimination.
So,
And we're not looking, we never ever wanted to shut down Heritage Hill.
Never.
All we want is the music brought inside, no amplified music, so we don't hear it.
but,
Just like they made for
Right.
Mapstone.
all right, I hear you.
I mean, seriously.
but
I mean,
here's-
we complained for years and nobody's doing anything about it, it's very
But-
frustrating.
I understand. And here's the thing. I wasn't on the board. I came to the meeting so I could understand. So if I was elected, I had something I could speak relatively intelligently about. I wasn't part of the planning board. They went through a very detailed analysis of all the parts and pieces and what should have been done and what was or wasn't done, but they made a ruling. Our only recourse that I'm aware of is we follow the ruling. That's what we're trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do.
Like they got special preference.
So the limitations were set, right? We may not agree with them, and we don't, but
Right.
they're set, right? So now, the onus shifts to the code enforcement officer to enforce those limits. Whether we like them or not,
Mhm.
that's the rule.
Right.
His job is to enforce the rule. As Joanne said, we're not trying to put Heritage Hill out of business. Don't get us started on the tax thing, because that's gonna be a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion.
Quite honestly, if you want my evaluation of this, I think the planning board, the site plan that they put into place is not enforceable, given what
But
we
it
have.
has to be.
But it is what it is, it's already,
Well,
it's
that,
there.
we're trying to deal with that,
It-
okay?
well,
We're trying to deal with that.
It's not unenforceable,
No,
they have
with what the
very-
resources we have, it's not enforceable, Jim.
You have the decibel reader.
It's not enforceable.
You
We don't
said
have
it
people,
was
we
on
don't,
those days, Mr. Angelo, that
We
you
don't have a
were
9/11.
out there.
Yeah.
Was there a
if
complaint?
you can come up with an idea that's
there's lots of
enforceable,
days
I'm
and
all
it's not.
ears.
Right, it wasn't, honestly, it wasn't allowed.
And that's what we're saying,
so-
when we're reading over the 65 decibels at our property,
Right,
1,800 feet away,
right.
that's when the complaint,
Okay.
that's when the enforcement needs to happen.
It's hard though, because is it, during this guy's work hours, that's a whole nother discussion that we gotta figure
No,
out.
it's not.
We
It's
gotta
not,
figure
that's
out.
not written that way. The limitations are not written that way.
So, would you mind if I interject something really quick, Mark? And so
Sure.
we're talking about enforceable, right? And this is where the dialogue comes into play. An acoustic engineer mentioned that one thing that's pretty common for places where there's noise restrictions is to have a graph in front of the band and a sound measuring device at some point, some distance, and if it goes in the red, they've got to turn the volume down. There's equipment, this is not a problem that hasn't been addressed, but this is where sitting down at a table and talking about what can we do to work together to come up with a solution to this. If there's a technological solution, great, let's talk about how we can make that happen. And basically, but there's one party's not coming to the table, so that's where the blockage is here. I mean, let's try to work this out. That's my take.
I would just
Okay.
say, there are two parties here, and this is the most discussion we've had in a year and a half, right? We've tried, and we've tried, and
Yeah.
Dave, I get it,
Yeah.
that I'm questioning the leadership.
Yeah.
And I get it, that doesn't feel good, but I
No.
gotta tell you, from our perspective,
Yeah, I understand your perspective.
we've submitted proposals, got nothing.
Mhm.
We've filed complaints, got nothing. So it appears from
Yeah.
our perspective that nothing is happening, and you're the leaders,
Mhm.
so you're letting them.
Well, and here's the other thing. Sure, quite candidly, if when I'm campaigning, one of the treasures of Pompey is Heritage Hill. And most of the people, I know, they have been given these rules, okay? Our job is to decide whether we wanna put more resources forth to enforce those. And do we do that for a minority of people when the majority feels otherwise?
But isn't the one,
That's our decision.
Isn't the one the
I'm-
minority?
Pardon me?
Isn't the one the minority? Isn't Heritage Hill the minority? They're the ones that have the limitations
Okay.
that they're violating.
All right.
So
We hear you loud and clear, okay?
Why are they above the law?
I'm not above the law.
Personally,
Why is
yeah.
Heritage Hill above the law?
No, I don't, Joanne, I don't think Heritage Hill is or should be above the law, like no one else here. Why do you feel that way?
Why would I feel that way?
Yeah,
Because no matter what he wants or he does whatever he wants without implications to any of his neighbors. And, here again, I was there when they broke the ground. I was there on opening night. I supported him. My whole family would
Right.
all our meat there.
right.
And then the fire came steam, and we were really concerned about 25,000 people, 100 feet from our house. And let me tell you something, if you lived where we live, you would see everything from a different perspective. You think that the motocross stuff that goes around in your house
We
is a
hear
problem.
you, but I've also stopped by neighbors, your neighbors, that feel differently, that don't have your same point of view. And just like Renee said, you represent what, maybe a third of the households in the area?
We border, we
We
own
have to-
1,000
we have to
feet,
factor
we own
that in.
1,700 feet that borders Palladino property.
Mm.
I would like
These guys border the other end, and he borders the other side.
Mm.
We're on
I'm just telling you what we have to factor in.
I'm just
I'm not-
saying,
I'm
we
not
live
saying you're
here,
wrong.
we live in the country.
Right.
We want the peace, just like every single one of you, and you're saying, well, you're in the minority, we're not gonna give it to you.
No, minority or non-minority, if we are enforcing some rule on some company, that should be enforced on all companies.
We're not before, we
Are we
don't,
telling any business? Are we
There's
telling
no-
any
there's
business?
no extra enforcement anywhere else. That's
Are
our
we telling
issue.
any business the music inside?
You know, Jim, actually,
Just bring the
There's-
music inside,
Yeah.
take the amplification
Yeah,
out.
right, it should be brought inside. If they're telling some one
One
business,
side has their music
Okay.
inside.
yeah, that has to
Just
be
bring
done.
the music
That's
in and
right
take
here
the
in my house.
amplification out,
Okay,
and the problem
we're gonna move on.
goes away.
We're gonna move on. We've heard, we've heard it. We're gonna move on.
And I dumped it.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Next.
So can we get together with you, can we sit down and talk? Will you allow us to do that? Will you schedule a time that we can talk here?
No, we're moving on.
Sure, and your brother.
I'm talking about all of us.
I'm sorry.
All right, well, I'll talk to you as soon as we're done, I'll talk to you.
We did allow you guys to re-speak, even though we could have said we're just
We're
speaking.
still not getting anywhere.
Keep the music inside.
Okay,
Bring the music in, turn the amplification on,
okay.
and everything goes away.
Okay, update, seems like the conference room, the sound system that we've had to have modified. Actually, we need to approve the extra $2,131 that was required to make sure that it kind of worked with the Zoom call and all that. So I guess we need to make a motion to approve that extra expense. And by the way, the people that were installing were great. They didn't charge 2 days extra of time to do the installation. So, but I guess.
Yeah, no, I'll make a motion that we pay the additional, what was it, $2,131 installations unlimited for the additional work that they did.
I'll second it, it was in the bills.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, thanks.
Now, was that coming out of the ARPA, or how was that, how were we paying for that? Just wanna double check.
That was out of the ARPA, yes.
I think we probably needed to say that, didn't we? Right, cause that, do we have to say that's coming out of the ARPA thing?
We could take care of that next meeting, I believe.
Alright.
Delphi Falls, the LED sign, the Delphi Falls Fire Department, that's been completely approved. All we need to get to them are receipts and proof of payment, and that sign will go up. There was a grant that was, Dave Knapp, our local county legislator, helped us out with, so that's good news.
Let me know, Mark, if you need anything from us that you're not getting.
I will, thanks. And want to make everyone aware that the Pompey Historical Society, and it's been really popular, the Inns of Pompey, they've been great presentations. There's one coming up July 17th and another on August 21st. So come early. And the one on August 21st is the Ozark Inn, which was a long time landmark in Delphi Falls. And that is it for me.
Yeah, I wanna say if we've missed anybody on the, moment of silence, feel free to email, text, any way you wanna get me that information, and for the times going forward for the next month, if someone put it on, and that way there we can get the names. I can only search as best I can do, I have people helping me, but I would like to continue that as far as just the human aspect of having it, so always looking for suggestions and help doing that.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.